My name is Yuna. I am 25 years old, and for almost 2 years, I worked the night shift at a small convenience store on the outskirts of Seoul, South Korea. The store wasn't in a busy area. After midnight, the streets became almost completely empty. A few taxis passed occasionally. Sometimes a drunk office worker would stop for some cigarettes and instant noodles. Most nights were quiet, lonely but quiet. Then I noticed him, the man who stood outside the glass door and who eventually became the reason I quit my job. It started on a cold Thursday night in November around 2:30 a.m. I was restocking drinks when I happened to glance toward the entrance. Someone was standing outside. At first, I didn't think much about it. People sometimes checked their phone before entering, but this person wasn't moving. He stood completely still. His back faced the store. His hands hung loosely by his sides. He wasn't smoking, wasn't on his phone, wasn't talking, just standing there. I watched him for maybe 30 seconds, then he slowly walked away. I forgot about it. The next night, however, he came back. This time, he came. I noticed him immediately. Same dark jacket, same posture, same strange stillness. He stood outside for several minutes. Then he slowly turned his head. For the first time, I saw his face. His eyes looked onto mine through the glass. Something about the look made me uncomfortable. Not angry, not drunk, not normal, just intensely focused, like he had been waiting specifically to look at me. After a few seconds, he turned and left. I remember laughing nervously. Maybe he was just a weird customer. That's what I told myself. I was wrong. The third night, he appeared again. This time, he arrived shortly after 1 a.m. He stood directly in front of the entrance, watching. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, never entering, never skipping, just staring. Every time I looked up for the register, he was still there. The fluorescent light reflected off the glass, making his eyes difficult to see clearly, but I could feel them. Following every movement, I began checking the clock constantly. The longer he stayed, the more uncomfortable I became. Finally, he left. But before disappearing into the darkness, he smiled. A small smile, the kind that instantly makes your stomach sink. That was the moment I started feeling afraid. Over the following week, the visit became routine. Every night, always between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Always alone, always standing outside, always watching. Sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes for nearly an hour. He never brought anything, never entered, never spoke, and somehow that made it worse. Even if he, even if he had shouted or acted aggressively, at least I would understand his intentions. Instead, he simply watched, like studying me, learning my habits, memorizing my schedule. Soon, I started noticing other things. He always knew where I looked up, even when I was stocking shelves with my back turned. The moment I glanced toward the door, his eyes would already be on me, waiting, as he thought he never looked away. One night around 2 a.m., I decided to test something. I hid behind a shelf where the entrance wasn't visible. I stayed there the nearly 3 minutes. Then I suddenly stepped out. The man was still staring directly toward the exact place where I had been standing, as if he knew, as if he had been waiting for me to appear again. My hands began shaking. The fear wasn't immediate panic, it was slower, a constant pressure building day after day. The feeling that someone had become obsessed with your existence. I finally called my manager. He listened quietly, then laughed. Probably just some lonely drunk guy. I wanted to believe that, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. A few nights later, things got worse, much worse. At appro- I wanted to believe that, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. I wanted to believe that, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. A few nights later, things got worse, much worse. At approximately 2:40 a.m., I saw him standing outside again, except this time he was much closer. His face was almost touching the glass. His eyes looked bloodshot, his expression completely blank. No smile, no anger, no emotion whatsoever. I immediately felt my heart racing. I picked up my phone and called my manager. He told me, if he comes back tomorrow, call me immediately. I'll drive over and check. The next night, he returned, right on schedule. I called my boss. He said he was 10 minutes away. The man stood motionless outside while I watched the road through the window. Finally, I saw my manager car approaching. The moment the headlights appeared, the man turned and ran. Not walked, run, disappearing into the darkness before my manager even reached the parking lot. When my boss reviewed the CCTV footage, his expressions changed. He knew something was coming. That was the first time I saw genuine concern on his face. From then on, every night felt terrifying. Every customer made me jump. Every shadow outside made my stomach tighten. Then came the night that convinced me this wasn't random. At 3 a.m., I stepped into the storage room for less than a minute. When I returned, there was a folded piece of paper on the counter. No customers were inside. The entrance bell has never rung. My blood went cold. I opened the note. Inside a single sentence. Your hair looks prettier when it's down. I couldn't breathe. Nobody should have known that. Earlier that evening, I had removed my hair tie while working, only for a few minutes, and nobody had entered the store. Nobody except the man outside could have seen it. That night, I called the police. They searched the area, found nothing. Just like before, he vanished every single time, as if he knew exactly when help was coming. The final incident happened 3 weeks later.
Hmm.
The one I still think about today. The one that still gives me nightmares. At around 2:15 a.m., I looked towards the entrance and saw him standing there again, completely motionless. But something was different. His eyes. For the first time, he wasn't looking at me, he was looking behind me. I slowly turned my head around. The store was empty. When I looked back, he smiled. Then he raised one finger and pointed towards the security camera monitored above the register. A chill spread through my entire body because at that exact moment the camera fed on the monitor suddenly went black. The screen filled with statics. I froze. The entrance bell never rang, but when I looked back toward the door, the man was gone. I quit the next morning. I never worked another night shift again. Maybe he was just a obsessed stalker, maybe a mentally unstable customer, maybe something else entirely. I don't know. But even now, years later, I still remember those eyes, the way he stood perfectly still outside the glass door, the way he watched me for hours without moving, and the terrifying feeling that every night he was getting a little closer.